And one of the big ones has to do with this a certain rapper whose house was raided yesterday, Diddy, which is just kind of the craziest thing. And there's so many. You will be amazed at how many financial consciousness exercises there are and financial awareness lessons that exist in that situation, right? Things that we can learn from. My daddy used to say that a smart man learns from his mistakes. A really wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And so, anyway, so Gwendolyn is in Alaska. I see you, Gwendolyn. Who else is in here? Let's see. Della Montez, good to see you. Let's see here. Who else? Deborah, good morning. Kathy out of Kansas City. Nelly, good to see you. Infalme, nice to see you. Very nice to see you as well. And good morning to everybody that's here. And in case you don't know, we do financial consciousness training every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. So that's a great opportunity for you to come in and really do money in the morning, get your mindset on the things that you want to do, the things that you want to accomplish as a wealth builder. This is not just a feel-good exercise, though. We're actually talking through economic consciousness. This is something that I wish I could have taught a class on this at Syracuse University. But now that we've created the Black Business School, we could create curriculum that ties into the Black wealth scenarios that we're facing as a community, as individuals, as families, et cetera. I mean, a lot of you have families that are going through certain things, that are trying to figure certain things out. And so if you want to know how we design our curriculum in the Black Business School, we literally analyze and study Black people, Black families, Black communities, and say, what do people need? What's really happening that in people's lives where we can help make that better. So that's where we come up with these concepts and ideas. So financial consciousness really came out of the fact that I believe society trains you to be unconscious. I believe society is designed to keep you unaware, uninformed, unintelligent, unprepared. Give me a yes if you understand where this is coming from. This is if you think about the public school system, think about how little time they actually spend teaching you about economics. If they wanted you to be financially prepared and financially aware, then they would talk to you every single day about money, because in your life you're going to be dealing with money every single day. So the reason I talk to you every single day is because I say every single day you're going to wake up and you're going to be thinking about money every single day. Am I lying or am I flying? What do y'all think? Am I telling the truth? What do you agree with me or do you disagree? I think that every single day you're going to be thinking about money. So to me, if you're going to be thinking about money every single day and you want to make it sort of an even race, so to speak, then you should be, if you're going to be thinking about money every single day, then you should be thinking about money every single day, if you know what I mean, if that makes any sense, right? I'm dropping bars right now. I should be a rapper. If you're thinking about money every single day, then you should be thinking about money every single day. Give me a yes if you agree with this. Okay, so anyway, so what I wanted to kind of drill into actually in our first financial consciousness exercise is what I refer to as Diddynomics. Diddynomics. Diddy is, as you know, he's in this crazy situation, house getting raided and all this other stuff that's going on, and it's a real messy situation, very unfortunate. I've never met Diddy. Dr. Claude Anderson did meet with Diddy. The Diddy called him about Powernomics, and you guys know I'm a big fan of Powernomics. Every child in our community, every Black child should read Powernomics. When Kanye West called me, he wanted to talk about Powernomics. When Ice Cube reached out to me, he wanted to talk about Powernomics. This is the powerful. This is and the reason that these ideas have such an impact on people when they hear about them is because it works. It's amazing. It's powerful stuff. Every Black child in America needs to learn Powernomics before you learn anything that these folks teach you at these schools. They are not going to ever teach you Powernomics in a school that is designed by your oppressor. When a school is created by the people that benefit from your oppression, they will never, ever, ever teach you to empower yourself. So don't get mad at the public school. Don't get upset and say, "Oh my gosh, like, why would they? Why don't they teach us this and teach us that?" Well, my question is for you. Why don't you teach it to yourself? Like, what made you so passive that you thought somebody else was supposed to teach you the way to liberate yourself, and you're relying on the person who built the cage to teach you how to get out of the cage? How much sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense. And so one of the reasons why I think it's very important to do these consciousness exercises is so you can kind of catch yourself. You can look in the mirror, have an awareness moment, and say, "Man, that doesn't even make any sense. They convinced me that 2 + 2 is 12. No, I did the math. 2 + 1, 2, 3. I only got 4, but I thought they told me I'd have 12, but I'm not getting 12. And that's what life is like, right? They tell you, oh, just do this and this and this, and then you'll be happy. Right? So 2 + 2 is 12. And then you're like, well, no, 2 + 2 is 4. And it keeps turning out to be 4 every single time. And 4 is not as big as 12. So there's an 8-point gap. There's a gap. So for most people, the biggest gap that you deal with in your life isn't just things like maybe a racial wealth gap or a pay gap or a gender gap. The biggest gap you have is the gap between what they promise you and what you actually got. Do you follow what I'm saying? There's a gap between the American dream and what you actually get when you follow the American plan. Right? So if you follow the plan, you don't get the dream. The plan is 2 plus 2. The dream is 12. So my job, just call me the gap filler. Maybe that's my job. Maybe that's what my role, maybe that's the role I want to take. I want to be the person who says, no. Here's the other 8 that you need. Let's go get the other 8 now. You did the 2 plus 2. Good for you. We got the 4. We got the 4. Now we gonna get the 12. And the thing is, so I can tell you, every single day, I thank white Jesus, black Jesus, and baby Jesus for giving me the luck and insight to decide to get a PhD in finance. And the reason that I am so happy to have that skill is because I believe to the core of my soul that most of what we're looking for in America, most of the happiness that we seek is linked to our economics. I think a lot of it is linked. It's hard to be happy when you're broke. Tell me if you agree. It's hard to be happy when the rent's due, kids need a new pair of shoes, your parents have financial challenges, your cousin's stealing from you, and your sibling put the phone bill in your name, and just all these chaotic things that happen. It's very, very hard to find peace in the middle of that kind of chaos. So I'm really glad to understand finance because what happens is that you just get exposed to these little tricks and then you start to see patterns and you're like, oh, I see what's going on. Whoa, oh, they got everybody going this way, and they should really be going that way, but nobody does it because even if you just, people just they don't want to think for themselves, right? People just follow the crowd. So, long story short, I think consciousness is important because consciousness makes you aware. It helps you understand what's going on. You can see patterns. Also, consciousness can make you conscious of your own power. Because when you start to become conscious of your own power, you start to gain the courage to go left when everybody else is going right, or to go right when everybody else is going left. And I can just tell you, and we've talked about this in class, and I promise I'm gonna get to the Diddy conversation in a minute, but I kind of want to make it about you. It's not about these celebrities. I've told y'all that's another distraction that I'm not really into, but unless it benefits the discussion that's in here. There's no place more important than right here where we are. Okay. And I share this with you mainly because I think that if you understand this, then you really understand a lot about investing. A lot of investing, a lot of making money in things like the stock market, real estate, all that is really about being able to have the courage to be a contrarian. Warren Buffett has consistently stated, he said that you want to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. That means you want to be a contrarian. You don't want to follow the crowd. You don't want to be the sheep. You want to be, or if you're going to be a sheep, be the black sheep. It's good to be the black sheep. Black is beautiful, right? Can I get an amen? I think it's good to be black. Being black, the black sheep is okay. So I want you to be a little bit of the black sheep, and I want you to take pride in that. I want you to be silky black and beautiful and shining, and just say, y'all sheep, y'all can go that way. I'm gonna be over here. And then what's going to happen is that when you start winning because you're taking those appropriate steps, then other sheep are going to turn around and start following you. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't really into this whole consciousness and awareness thing. So they're just going to kind of do what everybody else is doing. And it's not always their fault because that's how systems are designed. Systems are designed to control masses of people. We've seen this extensively, right? So a couple quick things I want to mention. Don't forget, we have the Stock Options Summit in Los Angeles, April 19th. So if you want to come, just go to stockoptionsummit.com. And of course, you guys know the All Black National Convention is going to be October 25th through the 27th in Lombard, Illinois. And so that's going to be pretty awesome. It's an amazing event. It's kind of like our annual family reunion. So I want to give you guys plenty of weeks to get ready. We're going to be in the Westin Hotel. It is a very nice hotel. We got them to drop the room rate to about $150 a night so that it's affordable, and it's going to be really awesome. So if you want to get together with like-minded people that you can form businesses with, relationships with, we actually had a few couples that got together and actually have had babies since they met at the convention. Right? These are quality men, quality women, quality people. And then also on top of that, it's a great place just to find your relatives, find the people that see the world the way you do. So feel free to join us. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com, allblacknationalconvention.com. You can also, if you text the word greatness to 87948, you'll get an invitation to the convention, as well as an invitation to the screening of our film, B1, the movie, and by Rick Mathis. And we're going to show that next week. We're going to show that during our weekly Powernomics training, which is on Wednesday night at 8:30. And that's where we're reading all of Dr. Claude Anderson's books in extreme detail. So if you want to join that, just pull out your phone and type in the number 87948 and text just like a text message, put the word greatness in the message, and you'll be on the list, and I'll send you information as time goes on. So I will text you almost every single day, just because I like to remain connected with you. But feel free to ignore the text messages that don't work for you. But really, I believe the constant communication, constant mentorship is the best way for us to be successful. And that's what I'm committed to. So I want to be here for you every single day consistently until the day I die. All right. So, and even then, I'm going to find some other way to still be connected to you. I just got to figure it out. Maybe with AI, we can come up with a solution. Okay, so here's one of the things I wanted to address in terms of the Diddy thing. The Diddy situation. How many of you, give me a guess if you followed what's happened with Diddy? I know that today the Diddy situation, to me, that should be taking a backseat to that tragic incident in Baltimore with the bridge collapsing. I don't know if I assume y'all saw that. So my heart goes out to everybody that is near in that area. I know a lot of people, good people in Baltimore. Baltimore is a beautiful city. In fact, just now that I think about that, I remember being in Baltimore, and there's a guy named Jabari who's a barber there, who is a great friend of mine, a wonderful guy. And his girls had a group called Watoto from the Nile. They were the best singing group I ever heard. They reminded me of TLC. These are the types of people that should be famous in my book. I don't know why that didn't happen, but they were amazing. Anyway, Jabari was driving me through Baltimore, and I remember seeing this abandoned mall. It was this abandoned mall. No shops were open, nothing. And the guy that was driving said, there used to be a lot of black-owned businesses there. And I said, really? So what happened? He said, well, they disappeared because the kids didn't want to run their parents' businesses. The kids, they wanted corporate jobs and student loans and all this other stuff, but they didn't want to run the family business. So the family business ultimately died. And that's one sad story about Baltimore, because you can repeat that story in 1,000 other cities across America. There are so many other cities that used to have these bustling, booming sections that represented the Black community. My hometown of Louisville, same thing. There's a place called 18th Street, and I grew up thinking of 18th Street as this place that you didn't want to hang out. It was kind of like a bad neighborhood, but they told me in the 1950s it was booming and bustling. It had nightclubs and restaurants and lots of Black-owned businesses, and they all kind of went away. So ultimately, that's what I think about when I think about Baltimore. So my heart goes out to everybody in Baltimore. God bless you, and I love you. Also, the other thing about that, in terms of a quick little financial consciousness exercise, is to understand that legacy planning is really important when you talk about Black-owned businesses. When you're structuring something that should be alive and should exist after you're gone, you have to make some sort of a plan for that. And a lot of us don't. So what happens is that when the owner or the founder dies, the business dies with it, the ideas die with it. Pay attention now. This is another reason why I want to double down on our Black core of three. Our Black core of three is what we believe in the Black business school, our core beliefs. We believe Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black-owned businesses. Educate our own children, create our own jobs, support Black-owned businesses. In fact, when Kanye West called me during the last All Black National Convention, the first thing I told him was the Black core of three, and he seemed to like it. He literally texted right back to me the very next morning, and I said, "Wow, I'm impressed." He remembered it, because that to me is I like simple solutions to complex problems. I like simple ideas that can go a very long way. So why am I doubling down on that right now? The reason I'm doubling down on the Black core of three right now is because if you think about it like this, look at it like this. Black-owned businesses die because the kids don't want to hang out with mama and daddy. They don't want to build the business that was started by the family. They want to go over here to Mass's business. They want to go and get some stupid job somewhere and feel like they're a part of something else, something more meaningful, something more significant, something that gives them greater pride. Well, where did they learn that? Who taught them that being next to their oppressor was more important than being next to their parent? I need y'all to process that consciousness exercise. I give y'all that warning to let you know what I'm doing. We're doing a consciousness exercise. Who taught them that? Where did they learn that from? Well, I'll tell you where they probably learned it from. They learned it probably from media, but they also learned it from school. You said every day we wake them up, we send them away to somebody else and give someone else, a dangerous someone else, access to our children's brain. That's almost as bad as giving them access to your child's body. So I'm not saying that you're a terrible parent for sending your child to school, but what I'm saying is that when you're missing that time with the child, the state is taking over the educational process of your child. The state is taking over the thinking of your child. See, brainwashing has to start somewhere. It has to start somewhere. So why not have it start in the public school system? And then also, why not let it begin when the parents are so busy working? Think about this. Your child's at school all day, and then you're working all day and part of the night. So you, while you're busy spending more time with your boss than you're spending with your kids, and your kids are spending more time at school than they're spending with you, then why in the hell would they be committed to anything that you have going on inside that house? Why would that take precedence over the things that they're exposed to the most? Do you understand? Does that make sense? So really, what I'm saying to you is that if you talk about why I think it's very important for parents to take the lead in the education of Black children, that's one of the reasons why. If I'm sitting here with my child every single day and I am the first voice they hear every morning, the last voice they hear every night, and my ideas are the dominant ideas in their space, then when they get older and they're thinking, well, how do I go make money? What's the next stage of my life? What am I going to do with my career? Well, they're going to say, oh, I want to be next to my dad. I want to be next to my mom. I want to be next to my siblings because that's what I grew up with. See, do y'all understand what do you get what I'm saying? This is to me, this is profound. This is powerful. We got to go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I know we were going to talk about the Diddy thing, but I got to go down this rabbit hole because I'm having a revelation. I'm literally having a moment right now because I think about this group. There's a group. They performed at the convention. They're becoming world famous now. John Boyd, the group's called Infinity Song, and the star of the group, they're kind of like the Jackson Five. The star of the group, the Michael Jackson of the group, is a woman named Victory Boyd. Has anybody heard of Victory? Victory, let me tell you, Victory she's one of us. They've been at the convention many times. Her dad, John, is a good friend of mine. And so anyway, John and I are friends because we have similar values. John came to me at one of our events and he said, I want my daughter to meet you before she blows up because I need her to never forget who she is and where she came from. So I met her and she's quiet and assuming, but this lady sings like a freaking angel. She sings so good that she sang for Jay-Z and he signed the family to a contract on the spot. So now Victory's super famous. She's hanging out with all these big stars and stuff. And the kids, the other people in the group, the other part of the Jackson Five, Marlon, Randy, and Tito, but that's not their names. They actually have other names. But anyway, the rest of the Jackson Five have been called Infinity Song. That's what they are. I'm not gonna call them the Jackson Five. They're now blowing up. They've got actually hit songs. They've got hundreds of millions of views, listens on Spotify. They're doing great. Let me tell you about that family. This is a little insider secret on success. Guess who the primary educator of those children was when they were growing up? I'm gonna wait. Do 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 do. Okay, I'm gonna stop. It was their parents. It was their parents. So this group, the reason that they're world famous now and super successful, similar probably to the Jackson Five, is that when you go into adulthood, typically the people you want to spend the most time with are the people that you've been spending the most time with. The people that you're going to be connected to are the people that you've been connected to. And this is a wealth principle because now instead of all the kids saying, yeah, I would be hanging out with my siblings and my dad, but I want to go work for IBM, or I could be hanging with my family, but I want to go across town and be around some white folks. I want to get a different experience. Instead of thinking that way, they're like, no, this is where we are. This is our clique. This is our group. This is our gang. And we're better together. We feel safer together. We understand each other. And now this group this family's, if they're not worth millions of dollars now, they're going to be. They're signed with Rock Nation and they're doing amazing things because in the beginning, the parents kept the children close to home mentally and spiritually and physically. Venus and Serena, their dominant influence was Richard and his wife. It was not the public school system. It was not media. It was not the rest of the world. They kept them close to home. So this is an economic idea. This is something I wish I'd written more about this in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. But I did write about it a little bit, just not as much as I wanted to, because I'm figuring things out every day. when you keep the babies close to home, the babies are going to stay there. But you got to feed them when they're close to home. You can't have them feel that in order for them to eat, in order for them to be successful, in order for them to be validated, they have to leave the family, leave the community, leave the sacred space to go out into the world. You want them to be able to circle back home. Tiger Woods, I see. Someone said, "Oh, somebody wrote Tiger Williams." Well, actually, it's Tiger Woods, but I get your point, right? Tiger Woods was right next to his dad. His dad kept him right next to him. Another example, my baby brother, I kept him next to me even when I went off to college. I used to call him all the time. I would call him a couple times a week, and we would talk for hours. And so when I started my business, my brother wanted to come work with me and help me on my business. Well, let me tell you what, those children grow up, and if you train them right, they can actually become better than you. They become a lifesaver. So my brother became my first source of low cost labor because I couldn't afford to hire anybody at the time. But he was his currency was deeper than just money. The currency was love. The capital was relationship. The capital was our connection. That's what the compensation was for both of us. Right. So when you have love and connection as your compensation, that goes farther than money. That's the kind of compensation that money cannot buy. You can buy a new car, you can buy a nice house, you can buy a nice outfit, but you cannot buy loyalty. You cannot buy it with dollar bills. You can't. Because when the money's gone, the loyalty and the love and the connection are gone. So really, I would just say to you that you want to think about these types of capital, because again, as with me as a finance guy, that's what I see. When I see connection in relationships, I see capital. Go look at Infinity Song. Their greatest form of capital is their connection to each other. So now they make these hit songs and they do these amazing things. So anyway, let me move on to the discussion about Diddy and kind of I think we can kind of pick up and learn from this situation. Now, mind you, you can have whatever opinion you want about who did what, why people get sued and whatever. Diddy's music. I mean, personally, I don't think Diddy's had a hit record since Biggie was alive. So I don't even know if it's fair to even call him a rapper. I don't. He's a mogul. He's a guy. He's a person. He's got some problems. And I saw yesterday where he was dealing with this whole situation where his house got raided and they're talking about where his jet was and whether he's trying to flee the country, and all that stuff. But what's interesting is that from a financial consciousness standpoint, there are lessons that can really be learned in terms of understanding what the hip hop culture, what the toxic side of hip hop culture does to your economics. In the world that we live in, there is a massive amount of risk that a lot of rappers and people in that space end up taking inadvertently because the culture can become so toxic. Remember, you're dealing with a culture where people get murdered all the time. You're dealing with a culture that extensively promotes things like drug addiction, financial irresponsibility, in various forms of abuse and harm to yourself and others. It's really a messy culture. Now, rather than just discussing the sort of ethical side of this, which I think that there is a broad discussion to be had about that, right? You guys know how I feel about the idea of black people promote or convincing young black people to get hooked on drugs. Drugs are really bad. Drugs are not just a destroyer of the spirit, but they destroy wealth. A lot of your family wealth gets destroyed when your child, who could have been a great asset to you, ends up becoming a drug addict. When that child becomes a drug addict, they go from being a person that's adding to the family pot to someone who's stealing from the family pot. So if you replace a giver with a thief, then what you've done is you've destroyed something very valuable, very precious within that family. And I think it's very important that we think about this in terms of how it impacts our economics. So with that said, when I see Diddy's lifestyle or his life and the things that he was accused of and stuff like that, I think about the lack of financial awareness or consciousness that might be present in a person who who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, who's constantly doing things that might get him sued. Rappers, a lot of them, they like the way they talk anyway. They seem to like to fight and shoot and get high and do all these things that make you economically vulnerable. When they say a fool and his money will soon part ways, another way to say this is an unconscious man and his money will soon part ways, because what happens is that when you have money, in China, they have a saying that says the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. So when you have money, The fourth part of that wealth process that I've talked to you guys about in the past is protecting your wealth. So because when you have money, you become a target. You become a target of people that want to get you to invest in stupid businesses, people that come to you with sob stories, people that may want to rob you, people that want to scam you. Just the list goes on and on. People that want to sue you. A lot of attorneys, if you are a famous person, a lot of attorneys will put your name in the lawsuit just to see if it sticks, just to see if they can tie you into something so that they can get a piece of your money. So you'll pay them money to make the lawsuit go away. So what generally has to occur, unfortunately, is people that have more wealth, they just have to move different. I hear people that'll say, "Oh, well, since so and so got a little bit of money, he's been acting different. He ain't the same. He's not supposed to be the same. He's not supposed to be the same. You can't be the same when you are a person walking down the street with no money in your pocket as you are with the person as the person walking down the street with $1 million in your pocket. You can't be the same. You can't have the same friends. You can't take the same chances. You can't go in the same situations. You can't be involved in it. Let me tell you. Let me give you an example. One time, I was at a bachelor party, and at this bachelor party, they got a little ratchet. They brought in, it was Atlanta. They brought in strippers. I think that that's like a legal requirement or something in Atlanta. I have no idea. I don't understand the strip club culture in Atlanta. I don't, that's not my thing, but I was there. That's my boy. Okay, sure. This is interesting. Wow. Strippers are very athletic, by the way. They have really strong legs. Anyway, so here's the deal, right? So we're in this party, we're in this hotel, and the strippers come in, the music's up, it gets loud. Somebody calls security. Security comes up, and security leaves. And there's one guy that was there who was an executive with Chick-fil-A. And he had always in his life made all the right decisions, all the right moves. Because it's hard to work at Chick-fil-A if you're not, if you don't have your stuff together. That's a really solidly run company. And at one point, he just walks up to the groom and he says, "Look, man, hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I got to get out of here." And I mean, and literally, they're like, "Wait, the party just started. What are you doing?" And he said, he said, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I got to go." And I thought about that, right? There was a tiny moment, but I thought about that. And I said, okay, this is a smart guy because he's engaging in what I would refer to as risk management. He just said, you know what? This is not a place I need to be. This is not a situation I need to be in because I don't want any of this stuff, if it gets out of hand, to splash up on me. Now, mind you, maybe my awareness wasn't as high as his. I should have left, but I was actually closer to the groom than he was, so I felt like I gotta stay, right? So I kind of saw it like as an interesting science experiment. Like I don't understand. You know what I don't understand about the whole stripper thing is I thought it was really weird to see this person that I just met and she's standing like right there, totally naked. And I grew up kind of thinking you got to work to get to that point. Like just the fact that you're just naked and you're sitting right there, I was like, wow. And a lot of them, when I would talk to a couple, they were like working. They were always working their way through school. They always had some major that made them sound really smart, and they were working their way through school. I think that that's like a common thing that they might. It was an interesting day. It was an interesting day. But I was like, oh Lord, if somebody sees me up in here, it's going to be all kinds of scandal. But yes, Dr. Boyce did go to a strip club. That was the only time, and I ain't been back since. But Atlanta has a heavy stripper culture. It's very interesting. And then last little point I'll make that was really they were up on the pipes on the ceiling. They were swinging from the pipes, and I was thinking, man, somebody could really get hurt. And then also, even just thinking about risk, if you are the employer and your employees are swinging from the pipes, you that's a lawsuit. Somebody fall. So anyway, let me stop with my stripper talk. But here's the point that I want to make on this though. Generally speaking, people that have more to lose have to be really thoughtful about the situations that they put themselves in. So when I would hear about Diddy parties and the shenanigans that would go on at these parties, even the alleged shenanigans and the lawsuits and everything else, the first thought that I have is I remember thinking, what made him and his people feel comfortable enough to believe that this was okay, that this was that this was not going to expose them to significant liability. I believe that with rappers, they were done a huge disservice by being convinced that you're safe engaging in behavior that would be very hard to justify in the court of law. Like when you get it, because when you get in court and somebody says, um, yeah, we were at the party and he grabbed the liquor bottle and put it in the blah 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 and then grabbed the thong and did the da da da. Right? Regular people are going to hear this and they're going to say, "Oh my God, this is crazy. This is not supposed to happen in a workplace environment." You mean this person is your employer and they're doing these things? Oh, that's a $20 million judgment in your favor. Because if I worked at Google or Microsoft or Walmart or some corporation and they did that to me on the job, then they would be sued into oblivion. But what happens with rappers is they're kind of in this weird space where, on one hand, you're being compensated to be as ridiculous as possible in your behavior, to be as irresponsible and as negligent as you can be, but because that's your business model. But at the same time, when you get into the court of law, they're going to see you as a corporation, just like they would view Amazon. And so the idea that Amazon would be having Diddy parties with naked people and drugs and all kinds of debauchery and shenanigans, I don't know if that is an intelligent way to approach things. And I see, Calvin, you mentioned non-disclosure agreements being frequently used. Yeah, they use NDAs a lot, and I think that there is a false sense of security that comes with an NDA because remember, culture changes. And so what happened in this case with Diddy, in my opinion, is in the 90s, NDAs could protect you, but then they got to the point where they almost I'm not going to say criminalized or pathologized. I don't know if that's the right term, but they made it so that NDAs look bad, right? They made it so that even asking someone to sign an NDA was seen as a form of oppression, right? This is how they started to interpret the NDA. Like they say, oh, these companies have people sign these non-disclosure agreements because these men want to get away with terrible things and they don't want anybody to know, right? Or they pay off the victim, and then they have the victim in exchange for the money sign an agreement saying, I won't talk about this, and they're like, why would you do that? That's oppressive, right? But then again, the economist in me says, but wait, but that's why I got the money. I got the money because you did buy my silence, and maybe my silence does have a price, and maybe if that price is $10 million, I can tell you, you give me $10 million. I'm not usually going to tell your secrets. Whatever you did, you pinched my booty in 1999. And you give me $10 million, and you say, in exchange for that, I need you to not tell anybody I pinched your booty, then just know that I'm going to go along with that. Sure, absolutely. What else you need me to do? Right. But here's the thing though. Um, so Diddy, I think, in a way, it's like when I look at Diddy, R. Kelly, and then really there's a lot of other rappers that are probably very nervous. Because I don't know if you remember 20 years ago, Snoop Dogg showed up at the award show with Bishop Magic Don Juan, who's a known pimp, and he had two women with a leash around their neck because he had the whole reputation, the brand he was building as Snoop Dogg, who doesn't love them hoes, right? Remember, we don't love them hoes, right? That was kind of his thing. So that was his business model, but that was a very dangerous business model, particularly in hindsight, because now someone could look back and say, okay, so now you're being sued for alleged sex trafficking, and here we have an image of you standing next to a known sex trafficker. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, do you understand? So you understand how it's kind of a trap? It reminds me of when Malcolm X used to say that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then he'll lock you up for being drunk. And so a lot of times, I mean, entrapment, social entrapment, whatever you want to call it, financial entrapment is kind of a big thing. I think that particularly in hip hop, rappers were encouraged to do things that really look bad years later, and this is a threat to their wealth. If you are a hip hop artist who has accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars, if I'm one of these guys, I'm sitting there with the lawyers saying, okay, how do we protect this money? How do we get this money into trusts, into irrevocable trusts, or whatever other entities we can get it into, so that when they come back and they sue me personally, or even sue my company, this wealth is going to be protected. If they haven't had, and I assume Diddy's had these discussions, right? So I'd be very curious to see what happens when these lawsuits come through and these big judgments come out. I think that this is the very beginning. I think that lots of rappers are going to be sued because, again, remember, I'm a black male, so I'm deeply connected to black male culture. I studied black male culture. I live black male culture. So it was like I was in it enough to know it. Like I got every type of like all the like, just to give you an example, every single black male that I hung out with when I was a little kid, all my cousins, I can't hang out with any of my cousins because most of them are either on drugs, unemployed, or in prison. Like literally every single, and I just freaked out. And I went to my mother and I thanked my mother and my father. I said, "Thank you for being different in terms of how you raised me," because I literally was trying to think of one single cousin, one single friend, cousin, play. You know how you have those play cousins where you see them on the weekends and it's almost like your cousins, but you're really not. Like people like that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't hang out with any of them now because of where the situations that they might put me into. And shout out to parents that have the courage to raise their kids with accountability and all that stuff. But anyway, so I saw all this growing up. My father, my biological father, was a drug addict. My father that raised me was addicted to drugs, but he walked away from drugs. Heroin was kind of a thing in Vietnam, and he walked away from that, and that's how he was able to raise me, and I commend him for that. But so I saw a lot of this, and I saw it enough to say, I don't know, I don't think I want to be a part of some of these things. I don't think I want to be an alcoholic whose children are embarrassed every time I walk in the room. I don't want to be a drug addict who is so hooked on the dope that I don't want to be around. I don't want to handle my responsibility. I don't want to be broke, unemployed. I don't want to be weak and struggling and straggling and just an embarrassment. I want to be an asset to the family. I don't want to be a liability. I remember feeling that way. And in my personal experience, most of the men, excluding my father, were kind of just doing things where I said I can't be a part of this. So long story short, part of what led me to really study the culture is that there would be times where I'd say, I don't want to do those things that you guys are doing because it's not good. All the drinking and all the women and all the, you're not studying, you're not doing whatever. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be successful. So I would watch from a distance, right? And I would watch what the consequences were. And so that's where I became kind of a student of what's been done to us, right? What culture they tend to promote to us that gets us into all these problems. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I think that and this is important, right? Because it has a huge economic effect because it affects not just the progress of your men, but the building of your families. A man who is an alcoholic, drug addict, unemployed, you know, babies, mamas, criminal record, everything else is going to have a much harder time showing up as a sturdy husband and father than a man who has made different choices. Right. So again, no disrespect to anybody that's in that category. I think you can come back from anything, but I think consciousness and awareness is really important because you have to be conscious of what the world kind of did to you. And remember that the struggles of the black family in America are typically struggles of broken families. It's the single mother who is barely able to pay the bills because nobody sits back and asks, well, where is the father? Why is the father not helping financially in this situation? And then I even see people that say that child support should be abolished and all that. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, if you don't pay to feed your kids, who's going to feed your children? And who taught you that it makes sense for you as a man to expect somebody else to take care of your responsibility? That's the part I don't get. That's the part where I get off the bus. That's where some guys get so mad at me because I say I just don't understand that. You laid down with that lady and you made a baby, and I know maybe you don't like her anymore, but you literally have somehow been led to believe that you can just leave a mess on the street, and somebody else is going to come pick it up. Who taught you that? Who taught you that you're not responsible for fixing your own situations? So if you don't want to pay the child support or whatever, I get that, right? There's a lot of problems with things like child support laws and how they're executed. I think it's very executed in a very inhumane sort of way. It's not fair in a lot of contexts. But I just really don't get that. I just have to say, and I have to confront guys when they get so mad at me on the internet. I'm like, but this doesn't make sense to me. This is not math. The math is not mathing. 2 + 2 is not 12 right now. It's 2 + 2 is still 4. And you're thinking somebody else is going to give your child the other 8. So long story short, I think that there are cultural problems within black males. And I thought about that when I saw Diddy. This is the point. Not all black men are in this category. We know this. I sat with a student yesterday. Somebody asked, do I do consultations? I do a few. If you want to do a consultation with me, feel free, email our support team. It's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can set you up. I don't do a ton of them, but I do a few. And I sat with a student yesterday, and this guy, he's 45 years old. He has a wife, a 6-year-old daughter. He saved his money. He had over $100,000 saved up. He was a regular working guy, college degree, just made good choices. And I told you, I said, I'm so proud of you. You're my hero, not these celebrities. You're my hero. So there are millions of men out there like that. But when you look in media, these are not the men that get mentioned or promoted. They tend to promote the ones who are loud and clownish and extreme in their behavior. Dr. Claude Anderson gives you the background on this. In his books, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, and the Black History Reader, he's explained that there is a history of America promoting weird behavior amongst black people, like almost like this attention seeking behavior. Like he said that like, so for example, if a white guy wears a baseball cap on forward, we'll turn the cap to the back. Or if they're loud at a certain level, we'll be 10 times louder to get more attention. And if you look at sort of hip hop artists, what you'll see is extremism, right? Instead of having 1 or 2 tattoos, they'll have 45 tattoos and tattoos all over their face. Or you'll see instead of 1 nice gold chain, they'll have like 20 gold chains, weighing like 60 pounds on their neck, right? So all these really extreme behaviors, this is history. This is the part of the minstrel show. This actually goes way back 200 years. So Diddy, to some extent, and I hate saying it like that, but to some extent, he was also compensated to be part of a minstrel show. Just this really outlandish, wild behavior that breeds a type of unfortunate immaturity within black males that's promoted to other black men. So if you look at Diddy, for example, Diddy was he was a young guy in his 20s, and he was climbing to the top. He was loud and dancing and shiny suits. Remember the shiny suits and everything. And then there should have been a transition. You would expect there to be a transition where Diddy goes from being the young guy to being the grown up. But you never really saw that. Diddy, to me, was kind of a Peter Pan type of figure. There's not much of a difference. If you look at Diddy at a party in 2021, and you look at a Diddy at a party in 1999, there wasn't a big difference. There was no growth there. There was no maturity there. There was nothing there that said, okay, this is a different guy. He's gone to a different stage. He's now at a different level in his life. If you look at Bill Gates at 25 versus Bill Gates at 55, those were 2 different people. That wasn't the same guy. So really, I think that this sort of promotion of immaturity amongst black men, extreme behavior amongst black men, risk taking, risky behavior amongst black men within hip hop is very dangerous. And also from a financial consciousness standpoint, it is extremely economically dangerous in terms of exposing you to consistent liabilities that can cause you to lose everything. So if you look at Diddy's different brands, I think I wrote down a few. He had stuff like Bad Boy Entertainment, Sean John, Ciroc. He had the relationship with Ciroc, the vodka people. Diego's the company that makes the Ciroc, I think. And they I guess he got mad at them or something. Revolt TV, and then there's other stuff he does, real estate, stuff like that. I don't know the details of all of his holdings, but I do know that once his brand became toxic, about 18 companies disassociated from him. And that was kind of that's actually a lesson in terms of co-branding, right? Co-branding, and when a brand becomes toxic, people suddenly don't want to be connected to your brand anymore. Diddy took a huge risk, similar to Bill Cosby, actually, in that his brand and Cosby's brand were heavy personality-driven brands. People love the brand because they really like the person. I think it's extremely economically risky for a black male in America to have a personality driven brand, or to have too much of his wealth driven strictly by the fact that people like him and think he's a good guy. I think that you live in a society where black men can be accused of anything and the world will believe you. And all of that can destroy brand value very quickly. So really, Diddy, if he was smart, and I assume he is, I assume he's done these things, he would diversify as much as possible, and be aware of the fact that at some point, people aren't going to love you anymore. At some point, you're not going to be the cool 25-year-old at the party anymore. You're going to become the dirty old man with a long history of doing things that could be questioned in a modern era. I think some of it, honestly, is a little bit unexpected, perhaps even unfair, if you want to look at it that way, in this sense. The rules in the 90s were very different from the rules of 2024, but that's the way things always have been. Remember, Elvis dated teenagers in the 1960s, and back then people thought that was okay. People were like, "Oh, she's a lucky girl," right? Well, now Elvis would be seen very differently in the modern era. So time kind of moves on, things change, and the world kind of views your legacy in a different sort of way with a different cultural lens. So with Diddy, I think that the big financial implication of what's going on is that his personality brand, I think, has been shot pretty bad. A lot of his brand association, his partnerships have been killed. It's hard to sell a product with Diddy's name or face on it. And I really think that at some point he should have. I assume he did. I don't know. Maybe he did this already, but I'm hoping that, or not even hoping, because I don't know the guy, so I can't even say I hope it. I would assume that he's made investments in brands that are not just about his name, his face, his likeness. The last little piece here is, and I want to drill this part in. It's really important. Is just the legal costs, the legal costs to Diddy, also the legal costs to the business. I was very surprised that this man who was kind of a walking corporation felt comfortable putting him and his company into situations that would open them up to significant legal liability. I will just say this. I believe that anybody who has a significant amount of wealth, I think you have to be careful with who your friends are, who you sleep with, who you're associated with, all that stuff. Even sleeping with just one person who decides to misconstrue whatever happened or reveal what happened in a private setting could be very damaging, right? So really, I would say that when I see people that become very wealthy who are really careful about who they date, who they sleep with, all that stuff, that makes perfect sense. I say, yeah, you got to protect your economic value because there's so many threats, and I think rappers get trapped in the sense that they're trained to believe that they can just do whatever they want, that they can just go and just, I mean, you have no idea. I mean, it's so funny. When I talk about this kind of stuff, sometimes a young guy will come along and say, "Oh, shut up, you're old, you don't understand hip hop." And I'll be like, "Wait a minute, dude, I know hip hop 10 times better than you. I remember when hip hop started, and I follow the culture very closely. Like I've been in that. What are you talking about?" And so I listen to the lyrics, but I listen with a different eye, right? I listen to what they actually say, not just the beat and whether it's a great song. I'm literally listening to what they're saying. And there are so many times where I would hear a verse and I'll say, "Wow, who told this guy that it was okay to say that on a record? That record's going to be around forever, and somebody's going to listen to that, and that's not going to help you." You have, again, just think about this from a financial standpoint. Think about this from a liability standpoint. You have rappers, again, because the culture encourages them to do this and the industry encourages them to do this. They will rap about people that they murdered. Tell me if I'm lying. Go check out Chicago drill rap. Chicago drill rap is crazy. They will go kill somebody and then rap about it. Um, they will rap about stuff they've done sexually in the bedroom, stuff like that. And in fact, I remember specifically there was a song that the rapper Exhibit did with Snoop Dogg. And in the song, he said something like, I can't remember everything, but basically, he talked about raping somebody and recording it, but then beating the case because he's rich and he's famous. And then but there was more. And then I remember another one. Anybody remember Biggie rapping about your family's locked up in a Brooklyn basement, and that's why the jury is going to declare me not guilty because your family's locked up in a Brooklyn basement. Anybody remember Biggie, Biggie, Biggie? Can't you see? Right? And when we just look past it because we're just oh, he's just talking, he's just being this gangster persona. Okay, okay, sure. But you sometimes we forget that we're black, and I just don't know if that is necessarily the way to present yourself. Because here's the thing: if somebody really accuses you of doing something like that, then somebody's going to say, "Yeah, of course he did that. He's the gangster. He's got this gangster persona." And then there was another one where Lil Wayne had a song where he said, basically, I'm not going to repeat the verse because it's so bad. But it was something to the effect of like, "I'm going to steal your girlfriend and make her into my prostitute, and then I'm gonna make her steal and kill for me, and then she's gonna steal your money, and then he said, I'll murder that lady, I'll murder that bee, and send her body back to you." Right? He literally said that. He said, "I'll murder after I finish using her up. I'm gonna murder her and send her body back to you." Now, Some people would say, "Oh, it's just entertainment. They're just acting. They're just, it's like somebody being in a movie pretending to be a gangster. That doesn't mean they're a real gangster." Okay, all right, fine. The problem with that though is that hip hop is different in the sense that people really do believe that you really are authentically who you claim to be in your media persona. When an artist or anybody remember Robbie Van Winkle, Vanilla Ice, and how his whole career disappeared when people found out that he wasn't really the thug or the gangster. He was actually a kid from the suburbs. There is a belief, or people really believe 50 Cent is a real gangster. He said, "I got shot 9 times," and that was part of his brand. Just like Snoop Dogg built a whole $1 billion career off of "We Don't Love Them Hoes," 50 Cent built a $1 billion brand off of "I got shot 9 times." Now, did 50 Cent really get shot 9 times, or did he just pretend to get shot 9 times? Was he really in the street, or was he pretending to be in the street? So here's the thing: when artists, and I've seen there's a big debate about whether or not artists' words should be used in the courtroom and all that, and they say, "Oh, it's irrelevant. It ain't got nothing to do with facts. It's not a." Anybody who says that, in my view, doesn't understand that hip hop culture is built on a type of authenticity that doesn't exist in a Hollywood movie. Like if Robert De Niro plays, if he plays if he plays a soldier in World War II, no one believes that he was really a soldier in World War II. But if I make a song and I say, I talk about how many women I slept with or how many people I've killed, and I have a gangster persona and I have a persona and a brand built on this idea, this image of me portrayed in a certain way, then a lot of people believe that that's really who I am and what I did. And if someone comes out and reveals like, no, Boyce never really did those things, he was just rapping about it and saying that he was a killer, then my brand value would drop. My hood credibility would drop. People say, "Oh, he's not really a gangster," because when the real goon showed up, when the real thug showed up, Dr. Boyce ran out the door, but he up here pretending like he goes and kills people. But then when we really rolled up on him, think about this: real gangsters show up to hip hop concerts, like real. There's real street connection. Like when rappers rap about being a Crip or a Blood, they usually really are a Crip or a Blood. You can't do that. You can't say I'm a Crip or I'm a Blood and not be one. Right. So really what I'm saying is that all of this creates this crazy space that only Black men live in, where $1 billion brands are being created in a toxic, unsafe, economically risky environment. It is highly risky for you to go through life where you are always economically unaware, where you sort of have this idea that you're supposed to be high and drunk as much as possible, giving drugs to other people. That reduces your awareness, which causes you to make mistakes. And then on top of that, you are going into these toxic situations, these violent situations, all of which lead to significant harm and or legal liability. And then somehow you think you're going to emerge from all this with your wealth intact. That is not true. Did you know, just to give you an example, a real life example, Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, that he took up cage fighting or something, right? Did y'all know about that? Well, his shareholders said, "We don't like you cage fighting because that presents a significant economic risk to the company. Your personal behavior is a risk factor, and that's going to impact your stock price." So billions of dollars in Facebook economic value got lost because his shareholders said, "If you're out here cage fighting, you could get hurt, you could get killed. Somebody could kick you in the head and you could die. That could affect my money." Did you know Elon Musk, when it was revealed that Elon Musk likes to take illegal drugs, his shareholders, some of which actually, I believe, filed suit. There are shareholders, either they did or they're planning to. They're literally concerned. They're saying, "No, you're going to affect our money by being out here acting like a damn fool." There's another one out there. I forgot what it was. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and then there was one more. I forgot. There was one more, but anyway, I lost the example. But my point is to say that the personal behavior of the CEO of the company, the leader of the company, has a massive economic impact on the stability of that company. So Diddy, sort of even into his 30s and 40s, participating in all these crazy situations. If I were his advisor, if I was sitting with him, I'd say, this lifestyle is very dangerous to not just your brand, but also your economics. Your family's ability to inherit your wealth is going to be impacted because they're going to have all these people, every person you've ever slept with, anybody that you've ever harmed could circle back and file suit. And it's almost like, your wealth has all these little parasites attached to it that are gonna come in and eat away at your family legacy. So this is what you're seeing right now. What you're seeing is something that I think was preventable, but it was also very predictable. That's going to cause huge, huge, huge amounts of economic damage. Lawsuits are just Will Smith one time said that he has to keep 8 lawyers on retainer just because people sue him for no reason. People sue him just for no reason. And then I haven't even gotten into other little things that I see in terms of people not thinking through even baby mama, baby daddy stuff. Every time you sleep with these women because you think that they're pretty and they all want to get with you because you're famous and you're rich, but every time you do that, that is a string of financial liabilities that you created for yourself that's going to deteriorate your family wealth. And so while you're flattered and excited that all the girls like you now because you have all this money, you have to understand there's a reason why. A lot of people understand how much they can actually get from you because when you are a big target, everyone notices that big target. So a lot of times, what you'll find actually is people that are economically conscious, very wealthy people that are economically conscious, they're not loud peacocks, they lay low. It's like somebody who really knows he's the boss doesn't even want you to know he's the boss. He knows he's the boss. So the person who runs around saying, I'm the boss, is typically a person who is immature, or they have not, or they have some sort of insecurity that they're trying to fulfill by telling everybody they're the boss, right? But a person who really knows he's the boss doesn't really want anybody to even know they're the boss because they know what comes with that. They know that that puts a target on their head. A lot of the Rockefellers, thank you very much, Angel, for mentioning Rock. A lot of the Rockefellers and wealthy families, they keep a low profile. They're not riding presidential everywhere they go and drawing all this attention. That's what insecure people do. Like Donald Trump does that because Donald Trump's a very insecure person. He's for a lot of reasons. His ego's out of whack, stuff like that. But people that tend to want to protect their wealth, who understand who they are and what they have, they don't want you to know anything. Like I can even tell you, I don't. You've never seen any clips of me running around showing off how fancy any part of my lifestyle is. It's like because that brings problems, right? So for Diddy to be stuck in a world where his whole brand's kind of built on that, that's going to cause him problems. Other people that are going to have problems that are kind of just now emerging, but I believe this is going to be what happens in the future because people that need money, they know who has the money and they know when they have opportunities to get it. So I think that there are people lining up thousands of lawsuits against major black male celebrities in particular who have engaged in questionable behavior over the last 20 or 30 years. Floyd Mayweather is another one. Floyd Mayweather, his whole brand is built on money, being Money Mayweather and all this stuff, showing off what he's got. That already made him a huge target. Now I think over time he's going to be a huge legal target. People like Jay-Z, stuff like that. I think the Diddy thing, honestly, is just kind of the beginning. I think there's going to be a lot of people out here that are in that same situation. So if you want to know sort of the walk away lesson from this in terms of how to apply this to your life, I would just say at the end of the day, protect your wealth. And remember that protecting your wealth is deeper than just diversifying your portfolio or, making sure that you have multiple streams of income. Protecting your wealth really comes down to how you conduct yourself in every situation. The smartest wealthy people I know are the smartest wealthy and famous people I know are people who are polite to everybody. They minimize situations that they get involved with. They are very thoughtful and very protective. They think carefully before they even consider sleeping with you because they understand concepts that we've discussed here, like moral hazard, which says that the minute I lay down with you, I'm giving you power. Like if I decide I'm Dr. Boyce, so I'm gonna go sleep with every woman that moves. Well, guess what? That means now I've got 100 women that can go tell a story about me that may or may not be true. I got 100 women that can file a suit and say Dr. Boyce did this to me and all that. No, so my wife is protecting me. I'm happy that I can say no, 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 no. That's the lady I'm sleeping with. That's the only one. That's it. She can verify she was with me the whole time. Right? That's it. right? So these little things that people don't think about, these are the things that protect you. So for guys that don't understand, like, why would a billionaire get married when he's a billionaire? Now, like, think about this. Think about how many people really believe that if you have lots of money, that's a great opportunity for you to have lots of girlfriends, lots of women. And I get it; it's very tempting. Women, black women especially, are just amazing, gorgeous, beautiful, right? But but think about it. They do it a lot of times because they want to be safe and they want to be focused. That's what it is. That's a type of maturity. That's where you say, yeah, I spent some time in the candy store, but I really need to kind of spend more time in the health food aisle because the candy store is going to give me instant gratification. The health food aisle is going to keep me alive. And I would say that is the issue. I think Diddy, in my view, is a guy who spent way too much time in the candy store. I don't get it. It's unfortunate because it's going to be hard for him. It really is. And do I even think he deserves all of this? I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like we create the Diddies in the world. We create the R. Kellys. R. Kelly was a guy who had problems for years. I spoke about R. Kelly extensively when he was first sort of, you know, when it was first revealed. Like, actually, if you remember, and by the way, someone asked about the stock. I'm going to mention. Stick around. I'm going to mention the stock in a minute. I know we've been talking about this Diddy thing, but I hope this discussion has been helpful to you. And I'll mention the stock in a minute. But I don't want to lose my train of thought here. But back in 2003, if you remember, that was the first big R. Kelly scandal. That was the first time that he was seen on tape doing something that he shouldn't have been doing with a young girl. And I remember that moment like it was yesterday. I remember that month, that week, that year. I kid you not, I remember it. And I remember it was 2005. Maybe it was 2005. And I remember thinking, why aren't we taking a stand against this? And I remember R. Kelly, he went on to the BET Awards. And pay attention, this is a consciousness exercise. Because at that time, maybe R. Kelly had a good advisor. And let me tell you why I think he has some good advisors at the time. Not good not good for his long-term mental and physical health, but good in terms of damage control. Um, so R. Kelly goes on BET right after the scandal. And he must have had some friends in BET because BET really, really backed him up and protected him. And we are going to have portfolio class, Errol. So thank you for bringing that up. Oh my God, I got so much into this. I got to go in a minute. But so he gets on BET, and during the BET Awards, they really stood by him. They gave him an extra long performance and everything else because they really wanted to show they supported him. Again, this is the danger of black media being owned by white people. They didn't care about the kids and all that. They only cared about his, performance. So long story short, um, he goes on BET and he says, I just want people to focus on my music. Just focus on my music. And what he was doing was he was basically doing a type of consciousness thing where he knew that if you just focus on how well he sings and how talented he is, you're going to forget about the fact that he's going to try to sleep with your 12-year-old daughter. That's what my interpretation was. I said, wow, he's telling people to focus on the music because he understands how people are. He knows that if he can sing and perform well and be talented, people aren't going to pay attention to whatever else he's got going on in his life. And so to me, I think that the world did a huge disservice to R. Kelly because I think he's a talented guy who needed some help and some therapy and people to kind of control his behavior. I think if that had occurred, that man would be a billionaire instead of a prison inmate. So while I certainly agree that he's not a good person and the mistakes he made were terrible, my heart kind of goes out in the sense of saying, gosh, I wish somebody had tried to save him instead of simply trying to eat off of him. And so this is the duality in terms of what we're seeing with these black male public figures that get caught in these crazy situations. There's so much temptation that's thrown at them, and then they get sucked into it, and then they get condemned for being sucked into the temptation. So don't let that happen to you. Keep your feet on the ground, stay level headed. No matter how much money you have, how much success you have, try your best to stay humble and smart and aware because there's always a threat around the corner if you're not looking. Okay. So awareness is critical for anybody in this country, especially if you're black. All right. Now I'm going to go. I am 6 minutes late for our portfolio power play. I can't believe I did that. But anyway, a couple things. The stock that I mentioned is VVX, V2X Industrial Group. VVX, that's the stock. VVX. So feel free to look that up. Victor Xylophone. That's the stock that I'm actually going to buy. Not investing advice. This is just me telling you what I'm buying for myself. And if you want to get profit alerts, stuff like that, just text the word stock to 87948. Text stock to 87948. Also, don't forget that I'm going to be doing a session in a week and a half or so, or about a week or so actually, on how to prepare for the coming market crash. I believe the market's going to decline. I'm going to give you 7 steps to protect your portfolio. If you want to be invited to that event, just text that word stock to 87948. I'll send you an invitation sometime today. And that's pretty much it, guys. So I got to get out of here. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I hate the fact that I'm late for class, the other class, but I got to run. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Have a good